I would like to highlight something. Just I would share my screen. You guys are able to see my screen, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So for question number 5 in yesterday's problem, we got one solution from Viswa Pathak. Okay, and this is that solution. So I really like this solution, so I just wanted to show in my class. So the basic idea was that you use simple for loop and then you use a dictionary, and then the normal way, like word count and everything, how we have done so far. Like if the word is not there, then you add it in the dictionary. If it is already there, then you increment the value by one, because there in those kind of problems we didn't know like how many different words will be there. So it made sense that you uh, like whenever you are iterating over the words in that text or in that sentence, you pick that word, search whether it is there in dictionary or not. If not, then you add it in the dictionary and give it a value of 1. If it is already there, do not add, just increment the value by 1. But here, because we know the key is fixed, okay, from 1 to 6 the key is fixed. So what Vishwa has done is he has initially defined this list, like this dictionary with all the keys and values as 0, and very nicely, very succinct code he has written to increment the value of this dice whenever, like, he is generating a number, and we can say that the whatever number is generated will be a key in this dictionary, and he is incrementing the value. So very nice code. And this style of writing code is called as something called as Pythonic way of writing code. Pythonic way of writing code, as in, like, you uh, Python is very powerful language, and like for very complex problem and very complex logic also, you can write just one line of code, two lines of code, and you can implement that same logic. So that is what in Python community they call it as Pythonic way of writing code. I am not a very like, I do not advocate for that style of coding, because since beginning I have been telling you, you should be writing code which a human can understand. You are not writing codes for the computers. But still, I mean, a very good code. Okay, so just wanted to show in the class once for everyone. Is Vishwa in the class?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good job, Vishwa.
Thanks, sir.
Yeah. Okay, so maybe we can start the class now. Yesterday we were discussing exceptions, right? Now again, I have made some small snippets of code, so we will just do some kind of warm-up thing. Like, we will just run through these codes and we will see the outputs. We will try to understand, and then we will discuss few new concepts. Okay, so one by one, just tell me, like, what should be the output if I execute this cells. Okay, so what will be the output for this one?
1, 2.52.
1, 2.5 and 2. Everyone agrees to that?
Yes, sir.
Anyone having any doubts, or he thinks that the answer will be something else? Guys, we will need to complete this in 7 minutes. I have a lot to cover today. Okay, anyone thinks that the answer will be something different? Yes, no?
No, sir.
No, sir.
No, sir.
What will be the output for this one?
1, 3.
1.
3.
Okay, perfect. Everyone agrees to this?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, what will be the output for this? Although I have not discussed finally, let me discuss finally first, and then we will take this question. Okay, so this is how usually, like in exception, the blocks that you will be seeing is, you have this try block where you will write your executables which you think might go in exception. Okay, they will not always go into exception, but which you think might get into exception, you will write those executables in try block, and then in case of exception, what to do, that you will write in except block. Okay. In some scenarios, even if there is no exception, or if there is exception, you'd like to do something always. Okay. So you write that in finally block. So in textbooks and blogs, you will see this example a lot of the times, like when you have database. Okay. When you are accessing values from data. Okay. So what you will need usually do when you are accessing a database is, first you make connection to this databases, and there are always some limit to the number of connections that you can make to a database. Okay. There is a limit always. So when you have created a database, or either Oracle database or anything, there will be a limit, the number of open connections that you can have. Now, when you are making a connection to this database, you are fetching some or accessing some data or doing some transaction on this database, you will first open a connection. Let's say there is some issue, there is some error. Okay. Then it will go into except block and does whatever. But at the end, you will need to close the connection of this database, right? You cannot leave the connection open for this database. Otherwise, you will reach that limit, and then no one else will be able to join the database. Okay. Or no one will be able to connect to that database. So whether there is no exception or if there is exception, in whatever case, in either of the cases, you will need to close this database. You will need to close the session that you had created for this database. Okay. So such kind of code you write in finally block. Similarly, let's say you are reading a text file. There is a text file. So you will open this text file, and after doing all your reading and everything on this text file, you need to close this text file. Okay. So even if there is no exception while reading the text file, at the end, after all your logic, you will need to close the text file. If there is exception, still you will need to close the text file. So these are some of the things that you have to do. Okay. Whether even if there is an error or exception or not, you have to handle that. Now, all those kind of things occurs in finally block. Understood?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then there is another something else in Python called as else block. Okay. With this is not if then else while else. This is like else in try exception, like try except finally, and there is something called as else. So when except block gets executed, when there is exception. Else block when no exception. Finally, always. This is what you need to remember. Clear?
So the finally statement, sir, once again.
Okay. So this finally will get executed even if there is an exception or if there is no exception. Sorry, even if there is exception or if there is no exception. Okay. Now, again, let me take that same example. I have opened a connection with database. Okay. I'm reading some data from this database. At the end, I have to close the connection. Right? So if I have to close the connection, that has to be done in finally block. Let's say there is no exception, but at the end I have to close the connection, right? If no exception, close the connection. If there is exception, then also you have to close connection. In either of the scenarios, you have to close connection. That is what you need to remember. You have to close the connection in either of the cases. So such kind of code you will write in finally block. If there is something in your code which you want to execute even if there is no exception, or if there is exception, that you will write in finally block. So see, whatever you write here in one, whatever you write here, that entire thing will get executed only when there is no exception. Correct? Right? This all line of code will get executed when there is no exception. Correct or not?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. This block will get executed only when there is exception.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Now, in what scenarios you can have statements that will get executed even if there is no exception or if there is exception? There is no such thing in just try and except. Either one of them will get executed. So for that, we have finally block, which gets executed in either of the cases, even if there is exception or even if there is no exception. So that is how we use finally block. We will run through the examples and it will be more clear. Okay. Else block gets executed when there is no exception. Okay. So try block, the whole of try block will get executed when there is no exception. Except block when there is exception. Finally block always, and else block when no exception. So except else is just, you can think of reverse of except. The functionality of except is it gets executed when there is exception. Else block will get executed when there is no exception.
Sir, what is difference between try and else?
Try and else. So see here, try, what will happen, one by one sequence it will get executed, and let's say there is some exception here or none of. So basically what you are trying to say here is if none of these lines are getting in exception, then only go to else block. There is something that you want to execute and you want to show, or you want to count that there was no exception in the try block. You want to acknowledge that there was no exception in the try block, and to acknowledge that you have this else block. Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Let's run through some examples and then it will be more clear. Yes. So what will be the output for this one?
1, 2.5, 2, 4.
1, 2.5, 2, and 4.
4.
All right. Perfect. Yes. What will be the output for this?
1, 2.5, 2, 4, 5.
2.5. Where are you getting
1,
2.5?
3,
Sorry,
4.
no, no, no.
1, 3, 4.
1, 3, 4. Right. What will be the output for this one?
1, 2.5, 2, 4, 5.
1, 2.5, 2, 4.
1, 3. 1, 3.
2.5, 2, 5.
One by one, guys. Yeah.
Sir,
Tell me.
1,
2.5.
2, 4, 5.
Okay, correct me if I'm writing it wrong. 1, 2.5, 2,
4.
then 4, then
5.
okay. Let's run this. 1, 2.5, 2, 4, and 5. Okay, correct. What will be the output for this one?
1, 3,
1,
5.
3, 5.
1, 3, 5.
1,
1, 3, 5.
5. So you got the idea, right? Everyone, you got the idea, like how this try, except, else, and finally is work. Right? Okay. Okay. We'll talk about exception hierarchy. Let's do something else here. So all this while, what we have been doing, all this while we are writing the code something like this. We say try, give a colon, executables that may or might get into exception, and then finally we say except, and that's all, right? And then we write our executables like which we want to execute when there is a exception, correct? But this is not right way of doing coding. Let me explain you with that same analogy that we were discussing yesterday. Okay, we were discussing, let's say if we get hurt and if we are bleeding, okay, our feet is bleeding, our left feet is bleeding, and we start getting pain in entire body. Is that right? It's
No,
not
sir.
right. So wherever we got hurt, we should exactly know where we got hurt, right? Then only we will be able to take necessary action. So when I say except, it is going to catch all different kinds of exceptions. Whatever exceptions are there, which is happening in try block, everything will be caught in except block. So I may not be able to know what actually happened, where the exception occurred. Okay, or maybe I thought that, okay, there was a divide by zero that can happen, but let's say there was some other error that happened. Okay, and every time I will think that, okay, it was divide by zero, maybe. I may not be able to pinpoint the exceptions that are happening. So for that, never use such kind of things like except and give colon, because it will catch everything. You need to exactly know what kind of error happened, or first you think like, okay, I'm doing a division operation here, so maybe divide by zero exception can happen. Okay, divide by zero. Then I'm opening or reading a file, then file, the opening or file handling error can happen here. Okay, so I know some of the things. So what I will do is, the line where I feel divide by zero exception will happen, I will wrap it with try and except, having just instead of except, I will say except divide by zero exception. Okay, for the other file operation, I will say like file handling exceptions, or whatever is there that I'm going to use. Or sometimes I will create my own custom exceptions that I might use in my code. Okay, do not use this except directly. Now how you will write it? So except and the exception name which you think might happen in this try block. So let's again see some of them. So I have something called as arithmetic error, which is a parent class of divide by zero. So there, like when we talk about or discuss a little bit about object-oriented programming, there we will be discussing there is something called as parent class and child class. Okay, so parent class and a child class. Okay, so how it works is, a arithmetic error is a parent class of divide by zero. Arithmetic error is a parent class of divide by zero. So 5 by 0 will be handled by divide by zero exception. It will also be handled by arithmetic error, because whatever exception child can handle, all those same exceptions the parent can also handle. So it's better to be as implicit as possible, as in, like, instead of writing here arithmetic error, I should have written divide by zero, because arithmetic error has other childs also. Apart from divide by zero, there can be other childs also, like there is something called as float precision error or something. Okay, something related to float, that also comes under arithmetic error. Now if I use arithmetic error and if my code reaches in this except block, how will I know whether it was a divide zero error or it was some other arithmetic error? So be as precise as possible. Okay, it might not be able to it might not be possible to be precise always, but be as precise as possible. Okay, so whatever exception that is happening or that can be handled or that can be caught by your child class, same exception can also be caught by parent class. Okay, all right. So now again, let's run through this code one by one and see what's happening. Okay, so what will happen for this one? What will be the output? So
One
here,
arithmetic error.
1, 2, 3.
okay. So here what I'm saying, instead of just saying except, I'm saying except arithmetic error, as in just catch arithmetic error and nothing else. Okay. So when I am just trying to catch arithmetic error, the output will be 1 and what?
3.
3. So here the exception is occurring. This is a arithmetic error. So it will be cached by this exception and then print 3 will be printed. So 1 and 3, right? Now, let me just run this 1 and 3. What will be the output for this one?
1, 2.5.
1, 1, 2.5. 1 second. 1, 2.5, and yes, no,
Yes, sir.
this is not
Yes,
correct.
What is that open?
Yes, sir.
Yes, this is okay. Hold on. Okay, keep yourself on mute. Let me explain. This is not correct. So here, this open function we will discuss. Don't worry about it in future classes. So I am opening a text file, maybe to read or something. I am opening a text file and I have given the name of this file as file does not exist, and this file doesn't exist on my system. That's why this name file does not exist. This file, there is no such file with this name. Now, if I'm running this code, the code will not be able to find this file. It will not be able to find this file. So if it doesn't, if it is not able to find this file, it will throw an exception. There will be an exception that will be thrown, but this is not arithmetic error which I'm trying to catch here. Okay, neither it is an exception which I'm trying to catch here, neither it is an exception like exception of child class which I'm trying to catch here. So arithmetic error will handle divide by 0 and some other arithmetic error and exceptions, but it will not handle file handling exception. File handling exception is a different class. It's a different family, you can say. It's a different family of exceptions. You're getting my point. So if I run this, I will get 1. It will be printed nicely. But here I am going to get file handling exception. So here exception will occur. It will come here. It will see arithmetic error. Arithmetic error is not file handling exception, neither a parent of file handling exception. So it will throw an error that no such file does not exist. And this is the error, file not found error. Now if you take this file not found error and if you give here file not found error and say print 5, and if you run this again, now file not found error is what? File not found error is file not found error can handle this exception. So now what will happen? The code execution will start, print 1 will get printed. Here file handling exception will occur. After that, this line will not get executed. It will come here in except block, check whether it is an arithmetic error. No, it is not an arithmetic error. So it will check the next except block. File not found error. Yes, it is a file not found error. So it will print 5. This is similar to your if then else that we had discussed in our previous classes. Similar to if then else, one by one it will keep checking the exceptions, and the moment one of the exception matches, it will execute the code within that except block and it will come out. Rest of the except blocks will never get executed. Similar to how if then else works. Are you guys with me?
Yes, sir.
Understood so far?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, perfect. Now, again, I have another piece of code here. What I'm saying is print one, open file does not exist. So this file does not exist on my system. Then I'm saying print 5 by 2, except arithmetic error, except IO error, except exception. Now you need to understand little bit hierarchy of the exceptions. That anyways, like I will be telling you, or maybe I will sharing you a graph or diagram where you will see that hierarchy. Okay, but the thing which you need to remember here is exception is the parent class of. So first you have something called as base exception, then you have something called as exception. Okay, this is not right. Usually in UML diagram, if you have learned parent to child arrow, oh, forget about it. Let's just have base exception, and then you have your exception. Okay, and then finally you have further branching. Okay, like arithmetic error, then file not found error, file handling error, basically input output error, something this way. And this arithmetic error will have further branches, as in it will have divide by 0, okay, float wala error, whatever we were talking. So this is how the hierarchy happens. Now if this is the kind of hierarchy, so if there is, okay, please keep yourself on mute. Make sure that once you have like unmuted yourself and you have done your talking, then please keep yourself on mute. Gautam, it's you, I believe. Please keep yourself on mute. Okay. Okay. Abhi, can you please mute everyone?
Just a moment. Yeah, you're good.
Okay. So let's say the exception or the error happened in divide by 0. This can be handled by the exception divide by 0. The same exception can also be handled by arithmetic error. Same exception can also be handled by exception. Same exception can also be handled by base exception. So this is the hierarchy. So if there is some exception handled by a child class, the same exception can also be handled by its parent class. Similarly, file handling can be handled by exception. So when I say exception, this is my default. So when I say except and do not give anything, that is what I mean by saying that I'm saying exception. That is, handle all the exceptions, catch all exceptions possible. So if there is some exception that is handled by the child, the same exception can be handled by its parent, and so on. Okay, so but let's say they are part of different family. Let's say file handling exception. Okay, here I have some exception class 1 and exception class 2. So exception class.
Sir, how you know which error is child error and which is parent error?
A good question that you will need to check the documentation always. Like it will not be possible for you to memorize everything. Okay, it will not be possible for you to memorize this whole exception, because there is around 50 to 60 predefined exceptions in Python, or even more. They keep adding as they get some exceptions which they feel should be added in Python. I mean, which is like directly available to the developers to reuse. They will keep adding. So there is no way that you can know that and memorize that. You have to follow the documentation for that. Okay, you just search Python documentation, go to exception, and there they have nicely given you the list of all exceptions and their hierarchy, the parent class, child class, that way. Okay, it's better to refer that before, like whenever you are dealing with exceptions. But just to give you an idea what I was saying here, like file handling exception, it is a different family. So if exception 1, which is child of file handling exception, if this exception is happening, it will not be captured or it cannot be handled by arithmetic error, because this is a different family. Although exceptions happening by arithmetic error and exception happening in file handling, both these exception can be handled by exception, because exception is parent of both these two families, right? Forefather, grandfather. So this is like they come under same family tree, but individually this is a different family, this is a different family. Making sense? You guys are able to get what I'm trying to highlight here?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay, now let's run through some of the examples and it will be more clear again. Okay. Okay, so what will be the output of this?
One, then error with opening file maybe.
One error with open file and some other error.
Okay, so as I mentioned, it will be 1 for sure. Then I have an exception here. Is it an arithmetic error?
No.
No. Is it an input output error?
Yes.
No, not input output error.
Then some other error.
So is it okay? Maybe it is input output error. Let me just run this. I mean, the parent will be maybe input output error. Yes, the parent is not directly file handling, but it is, I guess, in the file handling error is a child of input output error. Okay, that's why you are getting input output error. So input output error will be some parent, and below this there will be a child called as file handling error. Okay, because input output error is parent class, it can handle file opening exceptions as well. Got my point? Let's.
So why the third line except exception is not executed?
Except because exception was captured in this block, so anything below this will not get executed, right? Similar to how if then else works. In if then else block, if one of the block get executed, rest of the condition check and execution doesn't happen, right? It's similar to that. So it will be in sequence always, and here also sequence is important. You need to know. So let's say do I have the same example here? Achha. Okay, let me do this. Let me copy this and here what I will do is I will just change the sequence. Now see what will happen. Okay, now if I run this, I'm getting some other error. Why this is happening? Because exception is the parent class of IO error as well. So exception, if you remember, like when I was discussing that, exception is the parent class of all different error, like arithmetic error, your input output error. In input output error, you will have file handling error and other things. Okay, so whatever error you are seeing in input output error, that can be handled by the exception class. Correct. Now, if I change the sequence, the execution will start from top to down. It will check whether the exception that occurred here at line number 3, is it a arithmetic error? No. Is it an exception error? I mean, the exception class, can it be handled by the exception class? Yes, because it is parent of input output error. Now this third block will not get executed. So here sequence is important again. Okay, what will be the output for this one?
1 arithmetic error.
1 arithmetic error, right? Perfect.
Yes.
So if I run this, 1, it's arithmetic error. Why? Here also, see, exception will occur here as well at line number 3 also, because 5 does not exist, right? But because the first exception that happened is this one, after that this line will not get executed. So what was this error? This was arithmetic exception. Okay, now it will jump to except block, it will check. So first one is arithmetic error, it will print that.
Excuse me, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Sir, IO error is subjected to only opening the file type error, or if I input output, that output operation also error comes in.
Yeah, so that is what I'm saying. IO error is a parent class of different other error types also. It is not just one error. It has lot of child errors as well. File handling error, anything which is related to input output kind of thing. Okay, so we will see like some examples we will see there, but it is a child class. So when you check the hierarchy, you will see like what all different child exceptions are within this IO error. So this is a bigger family, IO error.
Sir, if we switch it with arithmetic error.
Which one? This one?
Yes, sir.
So here already I'm having arithmetic error, no?
Yes, sir. I'm just saying, if we switch that, keep the IO error first and then arithmetic error.
Ah, good question. So you mean to say you want this to be here. You want it here, correct? So this arithmetic error and IO error, they are two different families. They are two different families for sure. So now if I run this, the first exception which was there was arithmetic error. And after that, this will not execute at all, correct? So this line is not going to execute. So this, the exception which happened in try block will always search for arithmetic error in except block. Now, when it is searching for arithmetic error, it will come here. IO error, it's a different family. It cannot handle arithmetic error. IO error is neither arithmetic error itself nor a parent of arithmetic error. So this cannot handle this error. Then next it will check whether it is arithmetic error. Yes, it is. So now it will print this.
I was thinking of output of 5 by 0, so input output error will be there. But
No. This is, you are doing arithmetic operations, so it is arithmetic error. That is like child of arithmetic error. Some divide by 0 is child of your arithmetic error. Okay. Input output is generally like it's a different family. There are list of, so don't go by the name. Again, you have to refer the documentation for such kind of thing. Okay. The name itself might not be able to suggest lot of things for you. You will need to read through it a little bit. Fine. So that is how exceptions work. Again, another example. So what will be the output for this one?
1 some other error.
1
some other.
1. Then there is this file opening error. Then it will go into. So everyone agrees to this?
1 some other error.
Yeah, I got the answer. But
1 and some other error.
Okay, but everyone agrees to this, or
Yes,
do they think that there can be some other exceptions also?
So if we add that finally statement here, and in that we have to print whether whatever you want to print, then it will print that thing.
Yes, it will. So if you, let's say if you add here finally and print something, some tests. Okay. Now, if I run this line of code will always get printed. Coming back to something else, like at times you will require to just have one line of exceptions, I would say. Okay. As in, if you want to validate something, again, let's take the first example that we have been discussing so far, that circle problem. We discussed that if radius is not greater than 0, yeah, if it is not greater than 0, that then it cannot be a valid circle, correct? So that's something one liner check that I have to do. I have to check if r is greater than 0. So I was all this while, you might be doing this with the if then else block. So for that, it's recommended to use something similar to this, assert and then your condition. So if this condition is not true, then exception will be raised. And I want that the exception is thrown if radius is not greater than 0. So in such scenarios, what I should have done there is I could have written assert r greater than 0. So if this is true, then do nothing. If not true, then comma, throw whatever error message you want to throw. So for example, if I run this, assert 2 double equals to 3, this is not true, right? So it will give me assertion error, error 2 is not equals to 3. So whatever your message you give here, that message will be displayed. Okay, but same like if I say assert 2 double equals to 2, this is true, so this will be silent execution, nothing will happen. See, nothing is happening. Okay, so simple example here, simple example using assert, like I'm creating my own function of division, and what I'm saying is take two inputs p, q, and assert q not equals to 0, and say you cannot divide a number by 0, and then return p by q. So if I run division of 2 1, I will get an output. If I say division of 2 0, I will get assertion error, you cannot divide a number. So another thing that we have been discussing is raising exceptions. So there are different ways of doing it. We will discuss that, but for now, if you remember, I had been saying that like whenever you have a, if you want to have a custom exception, what you could have done is, what you can do is raise and then divide by 0. Okay, divide by 0 whatever that exception is. For the time being, just use this. Okay, when we discuss classes, object-oriented programming, then we will be discussing a lot like how to create custom exceptions and then how to use this raise keyword. But for now, just use divide by 0, or you can also use value error. Anything is fine. Just for the sake of simplicity. So for some of the code examples which will be there, you may want to raise some exceptions in some scenarios, which is from the computer point of view, it is not an exception, it is not an error, but for your code, for you, it is an exception, it is an error. Then in those scenarios, you can say raise and then some exception. Okay, so for now, limit yourself to divide by 0 and value error. We will be discussing how to create custom exceptions and how to raise those custom exceptions. Okay, I hope this is clear to everyone. Any questions? I will give 1-2 minutes for questions, and then we can wrap this up for today, and we will discuss some other concepts. So I want you guys to solve that problem any way you want for today. Tomorrow, I will be discussing how to, or maybe I'm just giving you a hint. If you are able to apply that thing, then great. Okay, so the hint is here, the question number 4, whatever is there, one second. Yeah, so the question number 4, whatever is there, it's basically there is a code snippet that is going to generate a matrix for you, right? Some A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L. This kind of matrix, I believe it will generate for you. Okay. Now, just copy the code, that small one-liner code which is there, just copy that, execute that, and then take an input from the user as something called as target. Okay, take target as a input. Now whatever input the user has given, search for that input in this matrix. If that element is found, print found. If not found, print not found. So to do that, if you remember, in a matrix we will need two nested loops, two loops basically. We will require a nested loop. One will be iterating over the rows, and the inner for loop will be iterating over the columns or the elements in every row. So one, like if I do I for I in something, so I will be iterating over the rows. And then here I will have for j in I, here j will be elements in that row. Okay, so this is how I'm going to do. Now I need to search for that target element in this list. Okay, all the for this problem, the expectation is you guys normally do it through for loop and everything. I just want to see how you are solving it. Okay, but there is a better approach to solve this problem through exceptions actually. Okay, and if you can apply some of the concepts that we discussed today, let's see that. Okay, so there is this exception is not just for exception and error handling, but also to write clean and better code. If you are able to apply that whatever that exception, whatever we have learned today in this problem, that's good. Otherwise I will be discussing that tomorrow. Okay, that is your problem number 4. And